Hi, good morning, and welcome to Women in Ministry TV. I'm the host, Jacqueline Battle. Thank you so much for tuning in. This channel is for women in ministry around the world to share what God is doing in their lives, their ministry, their books, their conferences, whatever it is. So if you know someone, be sure and message me here at Women in Ministry TV at gmail.com. Today, my guest is Tammy Renee Daniel. Tammy, welcome to Women in Ministry TV.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for accepting. I can't wait to get into what God is going to have you to share with us today. For those of us who do not really know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you come to know the Lord.
All right. Well, I live in Tennessee, where I was born, and I was born into the home of an old-time preacher. My dad was a Baptist preacher, and my parents prayed for a child for 8 years, and they had me. I'm just kidding. And so I was a pastor's kid, a PK kid, spent my life going around in churches, and I loved it. My parents gave me a strong legacy of faith. When I was 8 years old, I was in my living room. Of course, I'd just been in church, staying in church my entire life. So when I was 8 years old, I was in the living room, and my dad had open heart surgery. And so I was thinking about, he had said several times, if something happens during the surgery and I do not wake up, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in heaven. And I started thinking about my eternity, like, had I made a personal profession of faith before, and I realized I had not. So in my living room floor, I got on my knees in front of my couch and asked Jesus to come into my heart. And I ran back to the bedroom to tell my dad, guess what I just did? I asked Jesus in my heart. And he was so excited. And so then I was baptized in a creek after that. And so I spent my life living for Jesus.
What a powerful testimony. So you gave your heart, not in church, but at home.
Right.
Isn't that something? Because of your dad's life, he's saying, is your dad still living now?
Well, actually, no. When I was 10 years old, my dad was preaching at church. And he was preaching about the father going home to be with the son. And he felt like he was going to have a heart attack, and he asked everybody to start praying. He knelt down behind the podium to pray, and he had a massive heart attack. And 1 minute, speaking about going to be with the father, and the next minute, my dad was with the father.
Oh, my God.
So what, he left behind.
So 2 years later, amen, he ended up going to be with the Lord. And you was 10 years old. What a powerful, my God. But what a way to go. In church.
Yeah.
Amen. In church is sharing Jesus Christ. Amen. Now, also, Miss Daniels, you're an author. Tell us a little bit about your book. And for those of us, I'm going to put your website on, is tammydaniel.com. Those who would like to get to know her and her ministry more, we're only going to have a little bit of time here today. But tell us about your book.
So my book is called Far. Let me see if you can see it. Right here it is. And this is my story, because I feel like God spoke to me about parent. We all go through stuff. I accepted Christ when I was 8, but my life has had its ups and its downs. And so I wrote my story after I come through a really hard time. It's I was 25 years to a man who was addicted to pornography. So it's a very personal story, but I feel like it's a topic we got to talk about, which is the reason I released my book, to open up conversation and show the power of our stories when we decide to share them. And I cannot tell you the amount of women I have contact me on a regular basis who know and feel just like I felt after they read my book or go to my website. So I'm already watching God bless me being transparent. It's a hard issue to talk about, and it was a hard life. If you have dealt with pornography at all, there's a lot to it, and it's a very lonely life. Your mate doesn't need you anymore. And so that's what my book started about, and it talks about what, where Satan looks for. Because I was vulnerable, and because I wanted what every woman wanted, I wanted somebody to love me. And because of that, it led me to some choices that I am not proud of. I'd spent my entire life living for Christ, working for Christ, but Satan knows our weaknesses. And if we do not stay committed and intimate with Christ in his word and determined that nothing in this fleshly body will come between that, Satan's waiting. And he was waiting to wage warfare on my life. And so I ended up counseling with someone I trusted for my marriage, and we ended up in an emotional relationship. He told me all the things that my husband, you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
I don't know where you went, so
I'm still here. Just keep talking. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So he gave me all the things my husband didn't, and so Satan enticed me with that. You're beautiful, you deserve more. And he would, tell me, you've lived through all this pornography. So it was enticing, and I fell into this emotional for, a little bit. And when that ended, I was in a pit of despair and didn't feel like my life, and I had shamed my family. I felt like I had shamed my church, my God, most of all, the legacy my father had left me. I felt like I had tarnished it, and that there was just God could never use me again. And that was a hard period of time. If you've ever been there, where you just feel like, that's it. This mistake was so bad, I'll never recover. And that's where I was for a while.
Amen. And so that book's talk about your journey.
It talks about my journey and how God picked me up out of that pit, how he dusted me off, how he put me on a rock, as it says in Psalm 40. That's one of my favorite verses. He placed a new song in my heart, a song of praise. Many will see it in fear. And so God showed me, your mess is your message.
Amen.
And so he began to use my life like never before. So I'm thankful. I can be thankful for the storms. Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord. And I found out that is so true. Everything really does work together, including all of our junk.
It does. Like the lady was saying yesterday, the church has not, unfortunately, allowed people to be transparent in what they've gone through and what they've done. Is the church is hospitable, yet you can't be sick. You know what I mean? Or
we're the only army that kicks our soldiers when they're down.
Yeah, that's true. And now say that again.
We're the only army that kicks our soldiers when they're already down.
Exactly. We're the only ones that do that. Even the world is close to their on. They tell them, they forgive them, and then they go on. You know what I mean? We've seen a lot in society how people have confessed their sins, and then next thing you know, they're getting movie gigs and all kinds of stuff. But in the church, it's you're an outcast and all that kind of stuff. But we thank you for sharing your testimony. I do. Women in Ministry TV want to give someone a book. Perhaps if you been through that journey or you've been down and out in any way, I'm sure it's more in that book than you shared. I want you to share a little bit more about what's in that book. But you also had a conference not too long ago. I want you to share a little bit about what happened there, what God did there, the outcome of that, and all of that. So feel free, just take this moment, because you're allowing people to introducing your ministry to people who never heard of you before.
Yeah, so God really hard about doing a called Redeem, because we've all been redeemed from something. And so I had 4 other ladies come and share their stories of what God had done in their life. We had wonderful worship, and the Lord just moved among us. We had this powerful time of prayer, because I wanted the women there that had heard these stories, I wanted them to experience what God could do with their story, what he could do if they were in the middle of something that they needed some Christian women to gather around them and pray. We didn't have to know necessarily what it was about, but people all over the room were raising their hands, wanting prayer. And so we had this powerful time of prayer where God moved among us in a mighty way. And then I spoke at the end about the power of our stories and how God had used Peter I mean, you talk about someone who had messed up, you know,
Yeah.
we talked about the woman at the well and how she felt unworthy, but God didn't care about her past. He wanted to redeem her life right then. And so my conferences are I want them to be about how women, you don't have to hide behind where you've been. And maybe you don't think you have a story. We all have a story. And we just talked about the power of a story, and we told some funny stories that were memorable, but we had a good time. And so then I've taken the event on the road, and we went to another church. And so we got to lead worship there, and we got to experience there with all the women what God can do in our lives. And so we're taking the show on the road.
Praise God.
Yeah. And
praise God. So in 2018, do you have the cities and states yet where you're going?
Well, we are working on that right now. We're going to be back in Thompson Station next fall again, and we're going to be back in the church in Ashland City in Tennessee, but we're trying to move out of the state. So contact us if we could move out of the state. You know, it doesn't matter the size of the church. We don't care about that. We're just there to minister and share Christ. And at that point, I'm going to have a journal done. I'm working on my journal right now that's going to go hand in hand with my book called Thus Far. And it's going to give you an opportunity to write about your journey that you're on.
Oh, that's nice. So is a collaboration of different women. How many people are you opening it up to?
I'm sorry?
Is a collaboration for other women to write into this book, or?
No, this book is going to be just a journal.
Okay, a journal.
For you, it's going to have little prompts to help you share your story. And for you, what I'm hoping happens is what I found out when I wrote my Thus Far journey, when I wrote my story, is it brought healing to me. And a lot of what you read, I would go back and erase, because I'd realize, well, not everyone needs to hear about that. But it helped my heart to heal. And so our stories not only bring healing to others, but they bring healing to us. And so I want to encourage the women and the men who pick up my journal to have the prompts to help them see how much healing it's going to bring to them to write.
Amen. Amen. And while you was talking, this just came into my spirit, and I want to share this. The door that was open to the emotional affair that you had came from the pornography being in your house, because nothing just happened. The husband opened that door, you know, to this demonic spirits to enter as the spiritual leader in the home, whether or not he was godly or ungodly. What we do, the seeds that we sow, it has a way of coming back into our lives. So there was an opening there, how that happened. And people have to realize that, you know, because we deal with generational curses. If you see all the time, and not saying that that's general, he probably is with pornography, maybe his dad or whoever got into it, or that was just a little weakness in his area that he started as a young kid or something. We don't know. But that was the door opening for that. And for those of you who are out there who have gone through different things and similar emotional affairs or whatever, and any kind of relationships that you've had, a door was open. And so we have to renounce that door in order to get healed from that particular thing. And by you sharing that, and I'm sure since you've been on that journey, has other women come up to you who have gone through some of the same things that you've been, that they haven't shared?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I've met women private who have been in the middle of emotional affairs, and they didn't know who to talk to about that because they felt so much shame. And even the women that their spouse is in pornography, the women feel the shame. And so they have needed someone to talk to about how to how to live with their story. And so I've been able to help couples, get to counseling. I am not an advocate for divorce. My husband did not want help. He did not see. He was happy living both lives. He had his family and he had his addiction. And addiction is so hard unless Satan can break the chains. You cannot break it for them. And so I couldn't break it for him. And I had to come to that understanding. So God has opened many doors for me to help women who have just opened up to me about things they're hiding, that they need to share about where their husband is. 8 out of 10 men have looked at pornography. You know, there are more hits on pornography sites than Netflix, Twitter, and Amazon put together. Now, you think
Yeah.
about how many times you go to Amazon. You think about how many of us watch Netflix. And then you put all of that together. And so we've got more people. It's not just men, it's men and women alike, and teens that are going to these websites. And so I'm thankful that the Lord has given me a voice to speak up and say, we got to talk. We've got to realize it's the first look. If we can stop those teens from that first look, if we can stop some of those shows that are happening in our own homes. I know in my home, we had to stop watching Miss America. I had to watch and cut out some things in the paper. We had to take just big steps in order to help my husband.
Exactly. Get rid of all of those channels, HBO, Showtime, all those channels. I mean, because you can just turn the channel, really, sometimes even Lifetime. You just never know. I mean, how the extent the enemy sneaks stuff in there just on innocent, you think innocent channels. So, but not just pornography, but it's in every area. You know what I mean? We have to be aware of what's going on in our kids' lives and put blocks on their cell phones. I mean, it's just out there. But I think the key is for us teenagers and children, we just have to talk to them. You don't want to get involved in that, just like you don't want to get involved in drugs, because it's very addictive. It's an addiction. It's an addiction. And unless you get help, but the key is not to get started. That is the key. To teach the kids, because their inquiring mind wants to know, but it's just a trap, because you know you go through the preteen years and you're getting interested in girls, you know, and you're getting interested in guys, so they have that mindset. Okay, they don't know, but it's being taught not to look at those sites. You know what I mean? So we have to be parents that are open to discuss everything without. You know, if we're old enough to have children, we're old enough to discuss. You don't want to get involved in that, baby. That's very addictive. And I thank you so much for sharing. And once again, her website is TammyDaniel.com. Her book is only $15. You can get it from her website as well. I'm sure she has so much information in there that will be a tremendous blessing to you. And Women in Ministry TV wants to give one away. So go to her website and message and say what your message did today. It blessed me. And the first one that does that, Tammy, just let me know. And you can send it out, and I would be happy to send the funds to bless somebody with that book, because it's all about healing. It's about healing and being whole and transparent and going forth and being who God has called us to be. Amen. Any final things that you want to say, or you want to pray for the viewers before we get off or close?
Yeah, I just want to say that no matter where you're at, if you feel like you've messed up and too much for God, not. God wants to lead your life. That's what He's saying. And He sent all of us to His hands and feet. And our stories have power when we share them, what God has done in our lives. And I just want to tell you, yes, I lived through pornography. And yes, that led to an emotional affair. But what I want you to leave with is that God redeemed my life. He changed me from the inside out. He drew me into an intimate relationship with Him that I would not have had it not been for the storm. So I want you to remember that today. Whatever you're in and whatever you're facing, God is enough for you.
Amen. Amen. That's powerful. That was a great way to end this segment. And we thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to Women in Ministry TV. This is what this broadcast is all about. Women of God to share their ministries, their stories, their books, anything that God has done or doing in their lives. Amen. And be sure and reach out to Tammy Daniel. Go to her website. If you're not following her on social media, I'm sure her page is a blessing as well. And thank you, guys. And be sure to register a single mom with kids. We're giving away a $50 gift card. Send it to womeninministrytv@gmail.com. Let's have a single mom with small kids in the house who may be going through a little tough time. We want to bless them with a $50 Walmart gift card, and you can register that at the email address. Tammy, any final things? You're so beautiful. I just love your spirit. You're such a beautiful woman. And she told me her age, which I will not tell because she does not look it. But she's so beautiful inside and out. God bless you for sharing what God has done and is continuing to do in your life. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Love you, woman of God. Stay tuned. Don't hang up, Tammy. God bless you guys. Bye for now. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. God bless you.